forum. I'm going to kick it off to current and outgoing board president, Xiomara Hadnot, to just give a little introduction of our moderator, and we'll take it away from here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining. My name is Xiomara Valdez Hadnot. I am the current board president. I've held this seat for 3 years and I've been part of the board for 7. I'm super excited that we have 6 candidates tonight for 3 open positions. Renee Karibi White is someone I hold very special and to the highest regard, with so much respect. I had some crossover time with her on the board, but she's probably one of our top 5 terms for total charter years. She did 8 years on the board. She's a former lawyer. She has jobs in communication and philanthropy. She's currently working in a nonprofit based in Zambia called Healthy Learners, in the chief of staff role. And she has 4 beautiful TCCS graduates. Her oldest is in an architecture landscape master's program at RISD. Her second one is working for a non-for-profit and making music. Her third has just finished college and is about to start his first job at Google in California. And her youngest is a freshman in Teterboro. So I want to thank Renee so much for being our moderator this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to be here. Charter is very special in my heart. And I too am thrilled with the 6 candidates that we have today. So the candidates we have are William Brown, Atika Znaidi, Ravi Budaju, Brittany Weinberg Lynn, Alexei Velosevich, and Oscar Torres. And so the forum today is really an opportunity for you to hear directly from the candidates about their experience, their priorities, and their vision for supporting TCCS. The way we're going to run the forum is that each candidate will receive the same questions in the same amount of time, and then we're going to rotate the order of responses for fairness. We're also going to give a chance for there to be some questions for the audience. I only have 6 questions to start with, or 7 questions to start with, and then we'll have the candidates actually have you ask the candidates some additional questions. So take notes of what people are saying. Make sure that after this forum, you go back and read the candidate statements if you haven't already. We're really grateful for everyone who's here's interest. We're grateful for the interest of the candidates. And we hope that this forum will give you all the information you need to make the best decision for our community. So we're going to get started. This is going to be a short question. This one will be 60 seconds each, so please keep your responses tight. And we'd like to get everyone to introduce yourself by sharing your name, your connection to TCCS, and 3 words that describe what you would bring to the board. And we'll start with William. We'll do William, and then Atika, and then Ravi, and then I'll say the next 3 after that. So William, you can get started.
How you doing? How you doing?
TCCS, 3 words.
3 words I would describe you said description of TCCS?
No, 3 words of what you would bring to the board.
I would probably bring to the board, I think I would definitely be collaboration, experience, and a different perspective. I think those would be the 3 things I would definitely bring to the board.
And your connection to TCCS?
I have a daughter. Well, my first daughter was Olivia Brown. She graduated 3 years ago.
Okay.
She goes to Teterboro right now. Bergen Academy is in Teterboro right now. And currently, my daughter, Alexandra Brown, is in Teterboro. She's in 6th grade as of right now.
Okay, great.
That's
All
my
right.
connection.
Thank you. Atika.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Atika Zanedi. I have 2 children who are attending TCCS. One is about to graduate the 8th grade, and my daughter is in 6th grade. What I would bring to the table for the board is definitely collaboration, communication, and a future envision.
Great. Okay, Ravi.
Hi, I'm Ravi. I have a 1st grader, Jaden, and a 3rd grader, Kiara. I've met so many of you, so many parents that are on this call, and so many other parents that are not on this call. I love coming to volunteer at the charter school for whatever program is coming up, Special Persons Days, book fairs, field day that's coming up, tornado treats. And I just love watching the kids grow and flourish over the years. Three things I would bring over to the charter school is new ideas, um, building community outreach or programs, and also support a lot of the management that is needed within the board.
Great. Okay, next we're going to have Brittany, then Alexi, then Oscar. So your name, your connection to TCCS, and 3 words of what you would bring to the board.
I'm Brittany Weinberg-Lynn. I currently have a soon-to-be second grader, which seems wild to say, and an almost kindergartner who is begging to go because of her older sister's experience. So really excited to be the mom of soon-to-be 2 students. Thinking about 3 words that I would bring to the board. I am a lifelong educator. I was the kid that wanted to be a teacher as, a little kid and have grown up doing pretty much every job under the sun in the education world. I started as a teacher in traditional district schools, went on to become a principal in a charter school in the South Bronx, looped with my same kids for 7 years, and have just seen what a school brings and the value that it can provide to students' lives when it's a place that I see TCCS is and truly can be for kids. I think I would bring knowledge. I have a depth of experience. I currently am a consultant working with schools across the country to increase student outcomes. And with that role comes a breadth of knowledge in the science of reading, in math instruction, in what I see in TCCS's mission, and hear about every day from my daughter as she comes home. I would bring passion. I don't really do anything 50%. It's maybe the middle child in me, but I am really a passionate person about bringing opportunities for students, becoming part of communities and building collaboration. So I would definitely bring that passion and dedication. I'm excited to have a second grader and a soon-to-be kindergartner, which would provide longevity on the board, and be able to bring that level of dedication because I want to see what TCS will be like when she is in 8th grade,
Great.
which seems miles away.
Thank you. Okay, Alexi, name, connection, and 3 words.
Hi, my name's Alexei Velosevic. I've met most of you at the many events that I've been at, volunteered at. My connection to TCCS is my son Nathan. He is a third grader now, so we've been at TCCS for 4 years. So before being a board member, before thinking about being on the board, I came as a parent, and I've seen everything that TCCS has stood for, and the fact that it's a school without walls. Where the children are allowed to be free thinkers, and both children and parents are full partners. A few things I can bring to the board is, the bylaws talk about, school finance and organizational management. They talk about the fact that, only 90 cents of every dollar is funded by, the government, and there's still a 10-cent gap. I have a bachelor's in accounting and management information systems, and I have consulted for plenty of nonprofits. I run a real estate brokerage, and I work for a hard money lender where my job is to reduce delinquencies. So I can definitely help with the financial aspect of this, but also working with these nonprofits nationwide and internationally, we've been able to change kids' lives. And I know that, I'm well-rounded for this position because not only am I going to look at what's going on for my son, but I look at every single child at TCCS.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Oscar Torres.
Hi, good evening. My name is Oscar Torres. My connection to CCCS is my daughter, Kalia Torres, who's soon to be going in the 3rd grade. She's in Miss Echo's class, super excited. And what's 3 words that can describe what I bring to the table would be leadership, accountability, and teamwork. I wish you would say 4 because I would definitely bring service to the table.
What's your second word? I think the sound went out for your second word.
Okay, so leadership, accountability, and teamwork.
Accountability. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
And
great.
again, I would hope to say that you would say 4 because, again, service would definitely be one of the ones that I would also bring to the table.
Well, you managed to get it in there, so you got it in. Okay, now we're going to move on to some of the questions. And for this one, we're going to start with Atika. Why are you running for the board, and what do you understand the responsibilities of a trustee to be? So we have 3 minutes each to answer the questions. So try to keep it concise. I'll just raise my hand when the time is up.
So I am running for to be a member of the board to bring the collaboration of the community of TNEC community to work together as a team, as one, not only for my children or my daughter, but for the good for the entire for the community. Charter school, the mission of charter school is to bring a nurturing and prepare our kids for future, for the high school, and to have a good skills, not only the education, the basic education, but the collaborativeness between each other, to learn and to be free to express. So that is very important for the kids and the community to have the opportunity to help them, uh, and to be the liaison between the kids and the board to accomplish all these, to accomplish the goals of TCCS. It is very important to understand that each child is different. So we do, as a school, as a community, as board, we need to understand each child of needs, and try to get everyone, all these children, to have an equal opportunity for them to reach. Some kids have special needs. Some kids are very smart. Some kids need a little push. So it is very important to work together with TCCS, to be part of the community, to be part of TCCS community as well. Being having volunteered throughout the years in all different programs, whether I'm being asked or not asked. I see that is very important. You see that in the children. They're very happy when you guide them through the right path, and when they see parents are being involved in the school activities, whether it's Special Person Day or the book fair, the
So in 30 seconds, in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, what do you see the responsibilities of a trustee to be?
what do you understand? Is to be the leader and to reach the goal of TCCS.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, Robbie.
Hi, I'm Ravi again. So to answer the question, so I really love coming into the school and supporting a lot of the initiatives that the school have. And from coming into the school, it's not just seeing the kids grow and seeing everything that happens in school, but also I get to have an eye and ears on what's going on in the school, right? And I get a chance to talk to different parents. I get a chance to talk to different kids. And there's a lot of things that, the school is doing great. There's so many things the school is flourishing on. But then we always hear some chatters of things that need improvement, right? And I love to, when I go into settings, when I go into a new job or I go into a new project, I always like to go in and absorb what's going on, learn about what's going on, learn about what's going well, what needs help, right? And so the reason I'm running for the board is because I really truly believe in the mission of the school. There's the kids have autonomy and learning. There's the curriculum that's guiding them, right? But also they need to have their interests, and there's so many different um, there's like extracurricular activities and programs, and so many different opportunities for the kids. But I noticed that sometimes parents also bring in opportunities. And so, I always look out in the community and see what else that I can bring to the school. And I had a chance to host a workshop, a sustainability workshop for the school. And this was for the seventh and eighth graders. At the time, my daughter was in uh, kindergarten, and I didn't get a chance to, do the workshop for the younger kids, but I saw the value it would bring for the upper kids, right? So I bought it in, even though it didn't directly impact my child. And then last year, I bought in a program when I was part of the board of the Tina Creek Conservancy. And the kids had a chance to learn about the environment and build a beautiful art sculpture. So, things like that, bringing community involvement, things like that, I feel like I'll be able to bring to the board and to the school.
So, Robbie,
And
I'm going
then
to ask you the same thing. In 15 seconds,
Mhm.
what do you see the responsibilities of a trustee to be?
Yeah, so there is, there's the governance part of it, and that's
Mhm.
very important for the board. And then there's day-to-day activities, which is more Mr. Gallo and Ms. Torres, right? And so we need to have that communication between the board and the administration, but also take into consideration all of the well-being of the kids and making sure that the kids are their their best interest is taken care of.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, Brittany, why are you running and what do you understand the responsibilities of a trustee to be?
Great, thank you. I'm going to actually start with sort of where I see the responsibilities of a trustee to be. And I think I see it as two big buckets. The first is to remove barriers for the teachers to do what they can do best, which is teach our students to fulfill the mission and for all students to flourish. So, part of our job as the board is to figure out, alongside of admin, collaboratively, what are those barriers? Is it that there's a gap in funding and we need to support and fundraise and build a different sort of perspective or think about things differently in order to provide teachers and leaders what they need in order for students to be successful? And the second part of that, I think, is to build bridges, to think about the level of collaboration across the community, across the board, across the school, to fulfill the mission, to fulfill the goals, to live out the strategic plan that we have in place. So really, it's about removing those barriers and building those bridges for the school. And I think that's exactly why I wanted to run for the board. Initially, it wasn't something that was in my sort of thoughts, but I had an interaction with Ms. Torres that was inspiring, where I reached out about some concerns, some ideas I had from my own experience, and was met with open arms. A meeting was had, was able to collaborate, and felt that I could really bring a track record of success. I have seen schools make massive growth in different areas that they've put their mind to with my support. And I've done it myself in the classroom, having exceeded over 90%, 100% of my students have met their goals in state tests. So I have that track record that I think will provide best practices for the board and the school to create the school that everyone really wants for all students.
Thanks, Brittany. Okay,
Hello.
so why are you running for the board and what do you understand the responsibilities of a trustee to be?
So I think I'll start off with the responsibilities of a trustee because a trustee doesn't jump into the curriculum or doesn't jump into the job of the executive director or the teachers. The board's here to govern, which basically means you help find the best talent, to run the school. And then you collaborate with them, but you take a step back and you let them do what they do best. Because it would be like me jumping in, hiring somebody to build a house and telling them, hey, you're doing it wrong. Let me do it for you. That the trustee member is not supposed to do that. We're supposed to work together, to collaborate with the executive director and teachers, but not to get in their way. And again, like I said, regarding financial accountability, managing finances, schools cost money to run. And our school does so much for our students, because like they said, we have a living curriculum and it's a school without walls. I can't tell you how many trips I volunteered at, events I've been at with my son that I look back at my childhood and I was like, we never did that. And TNEC makes it possible. So with my financial background, I do want to help with that. And then along with that, I'm also multilingual. I speak Ukrainian, Russian, English, and Spanish. I was just in the Ukraine for 3 months. So I'm able to handle, conflict situations, and I'm able to handle good situations. And I can take a 360-degree view of what's going on and collaborate with people, and diffuse situations when need be. Because whether we like it or not, times can get tense, people can get tense, but can you say, hey, listen, you know what? This is happening, but what's the best outcome for everybody? So, because of what Teaneck has done for Nathan, what it's done for my family, and that's why I want to give back. And, I can't tell you that how many times, you do things and it's not about being on a board, it's not about being there. Sometimes you just volunteer with no recognition, and you got to realize that you're there for your kid and you're there for all the other kids, because Teaneck Community Charter School is a very diverse group of families and cultures and economic backgrounds. And we want to serve all of them moving forward. We want our charter school to be an example for the charter school program in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, thank you, Alexi. Oscar, why are you running for the board, and what do you understand the responsibilities of a trustee to be?
Okay. So why am I running? It kind of intertwines to the initial introduction of the points of leadership, accountability, teamwork, and service. As a parent, I understand the importance of ensuring our schools to provide the students the tools that they need to both academically and personally succeed. That being said, it gives me the opportunity to interact with the parents. I've interacted with parents almost on a day-to-day basis, mornings, afternoons, events, and due to I want to say, the mission statement that the TCCS has with the board, it allows me to successfully it takes me into the responsibilities per se. A successful school requires responsible financial stewardship, um, allowing me to use the resources that we currently have and bring resources to the table that can allow us to be even more successful for the community, for the teachers, and for the board. Although we are parents, but we also are a committee, and we hold the responsibilities to the school as well as the community as the parents. So that giving us the opportunity to have community communication, teacher communication, um, it allows us to move forward. It allows us to be successful for the students effectively, transparently, and we're always in support to not just the students, but the teachers and the parents as we are parents. That gives me the reason why I'm running for the board and the responsibilities.
Just one last restatement of the response. What do you understand the responsibilities of the trustee to be? You have about 30 seconds.
Sure. So commitment, community engagement, teacher engagement, specific management within the bylaws, and communication financially. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to the next question.
Wait, I didn't go. I didn't go at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. William, go ahead. Thank you for that.
You forgot about me over here. What's going on here, guys? Okay. All right. So what was the question? Are you running? Okay.
You should if you can lower yourself a little bit so your face is in the camera, that would be good. Yes, that's better.
That's
Okay.
probably why you forgot.
That's why you're running for the school board, and what do you understand the responsibilities of a trustee to be?
All right. So I'm running for the school board because I have 20 years experience. Right now I'm the vice president of a company, a for-profit actually education company that we own a bunch of for-profit schools, right? So we deal with education all day. I've been doing this for 20 years, right? 20 plus years. Secondly, I'm a parent of 2 students, and this school has done so much for my first child and is doing so much for my second child right now, right? And I do believe all the time that it starts from home, the kitchen table. I always say that it starts from home. And everything we're doing is working now. So it starts from home, but whatever you guys are doing in school, it's coming back at home too. So it's great communication between the two, right? And I want to give back. So what's happening now with my two children, I want to give back. I want to come in and help whatever you guys are doing now. All right. So the board is doing a great job now. I want to come in and assist and learn from you guys. Because right now I'm a vice president of a company, but if I come in right now, I'll be a student to the board, right? It's going to take time for me to learn because I don't know anything right now with the board, but it'll take time in meetings to learn these things, right? And I want an opportunity to kind of like shape, you know, the future with, you know, Teaneck Charter School right now and give some support right now. And obviously, right now, the role isn't to make a lasting impression, going forward the next 2 or 3 years while I'm there right now with the school. Now, to me, the responsibilities of a trustee is one word: stewardship. Right? Mm-hmm. That's one word. Everything has to do with the school, right? Anything you do right now. So finances, protecting the school's mission, right? So whatever the mission is of the school, the board has to protect that, right? Students first, right? Every decision you make has to be for the students, the staff, but everything has to be for the student, no matter what decision you make, right? Good, bad, whatever, but it's for the student. But you have to do things that benefit the student's future, obviously, and make sure everything's effective. So that's my view on being a trustee.
Great, thank you. We're going to move on to question 2. And to make sure that we get to as many questions as possible, we're going to reduce the time to about 2 minutes per question. And so we're going to start on question 2 with Ravi. What do you see as the core mission of the charter school? And what do you think the board should look at to know whether the school is fulfilling that mission for all of its students?
Yeah, so whenever we start any of the board meetings, I've noticed that every single time Zira Mara always brings up the mission. And so some things that pop out to me whenever the mission is whenever she reads it out to the community and to the rest of the board is that, they need to support, they're working towards supporting a student-focused environment. They need to make sure, and these are just words that I don't know what like word for word the whole entire mission, but things that pop out to me as well as, like the kids, we have to encourage them to have curiosity. We want them to learn, have a love for learning, have them to have a hands-on experience in a lot of their lessons. And then, I'm sorry. Uh, and then also want them to be critical thinkers. There is the problem-based learning design that we have in the school, and that's I feel is part of the mission. But also give them a chance to have them learn about their unique interests, find their unique interests, find their strengths. So then they like coming to school, they love coming to school, the families love sending their kids to school. And so going back to your question about the core mission, that's what I see as a core mission. That's whenever I hear the word mission, all of those words or all those thoughts come up in my head because I always hear that at the beginning of every board meeting.
And what can the board
And
look at to know if the school is fulfilling that mission?
yeah, so every year, the board does their survey. That's a great start for them to see, are they fulfilling their mission? Like parents send their kids into the school after reading the mission and with certain expectations. And that's data right there, right? And then the board members going to different events. I know recently a lot of the board members are going to almost all the events now, which is great because then they get a chance to talk to a lot of the parents, talk to a lot of the kids, and find out what's going well, right? And they know from learning, talking to the parents if they're fulfilling the mission. Renee, I see you're raising a hand. Am I out of
Yeah.
time? Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks. Brittany.
Great. So I think there are a couple things I want to point out that sort of speak to me in the core mission. I think this idea of all students realizing their full intellectual potential stands out, that this isn't a school for a particular subset of students. It's a school for all students. And that really comes through in how the mission really talks about the curriculum. It's a school that builds critical thinking, that builds creativity, that instills the joy of learning, curiosity, and I definitely have seen that come to life in my daughter, who, has talked not only about very specific math or ELA things, but is also obsessed with what she's learning in Miss Abby's class and Senora Addie's class. And I think that cross-curricular whole child approach is something that's really important that stands out in the mission. And I think as board member, I would want us to look at both qualitative and quantitative metrics. And so when I think about the qualitative metrics, I would think about whether students feel that they are being pushed to their full potential through things like student surveys. I would want to know if parents feel the collaboration and the sense of community that's spoken to in the mission through surveys and conversations and listening tours. And I want to make sure that teachers feel the level of support and that they are able to fulfill sort of all of those awesome adjectives in the mission through surveys and conversations, and also things like walkthroughs, qualitative walkthroughs. Do we have normed rubrics on what we're looking for when we say critical thinking in high level classrooms? So that qualitative metrics piece. And then I would want to dig into the quantitative metrics. Yes, the more obvious things like state test scores, those matter, right? They open doors. They may not be the only thing, but they open doors and opportunities. I would want to make sure that there are also attendance, both for teachers and students, is looked at. If kids want to come to school, they'll be there. So I would look closely at both the qualitative and the quantitative metrics to make sure the core mission is really coming to life.
Thank you. Alexi.
Looking at the core mission of TCCS, I think you can find it's very straightforward. TCCS, it tells us you want to have a learning community that helps every child become a self-directed learner. And that's the beauty of it because we're not pushing our kids to do anything. We're creating an environment where our kids desire to learn. We're giving them the opportunity and the freedom to be a self-directed learner, not someone who's forced to go to class, not someone who's forced to pass tests for a grade, but someone whose mind we're opening by giving them different opportunities. Yes, in the school and outside the school with again, with the mission of school without walls, where we take them outside the classroom into the city, into nature, into things. So you're pulling them in and you're opening up their minds to do that. However, it's a question of how do you know whether, the school's doing its job or not? And that is found right at the end of the mission. The last three words say, for all students. It's not just for male, female, black, white. It doesn't matter who they are. It's for every student. And the way you know if a school's doing if we're fulfilling our mission is every student's need being met? Or are we leaving kids behind? And the way you do that, yes, you do it with, analytics. But you don't just look at the aggregated data. You don't look at just the big picture. You have to break it down by grade, by classroom, by subgroups. And you look at and you see, hey, where are the outliers? How big are the outliers? And why do they exist? And how do we, reach those students that in normal school districts would get left behind? But because we're looking at everybody, how do you make sure those kids' needs are being met as well? And then, of course, you talk to the parents. And again, you work with the teachers, but because you've already hired the best talent, you let them do their job. You collaborate, you review the data together, but you focus on every single student.
Oscar. Thank you, Alexi. Oscar.
Yes. Okay. So, um, to begin with, what do I see as the core mission of TCCS? I'm a very big believer on believing to what's the mission, what's the core, right? So, school, we're looking at achievements, we're looking at academic excellence, we're looking at developing independent students, creative thinkers. We went through a very traumatic area of COVID where we stopped having creative thinkers, right? So I think that TCCS focuses on that phenomenally. Hands-on, learning experiences, strong literacy, critical thinking, diversity and inclusion, different perspectives, right? That's where I see the core mission of TCCS very, very strong on, and even the communication between the families, educators, and when I say families, I refer to the community. Okay, so that would be the first part of the question. The second part is what should the board look at to know whether or not,
Board look at.
right, whether the school is fulfilling the mission. Um, let's look at the big picture, right? How are we impacting the students, okay, to fulfill this mission? Ultimately, it's the educators, yes, but how are these students walking out of school on a day-to-day basis, completely happy, knowing that every single day they've accomplished something much different that we've provided, that we've brought to the table, or that I have brought to the table? Just an idea, any simple idea that I brought onto the table, to know that not just my child, but any other child can go home and say, hey, I've done this, this, and this, and this, and this. And that's all because us working on the back end, we've provided that. We've given that kind of stuff. And the other thing is that not a lot of people that we tend to lose the focus on is the retention in our school. We want to keep those students. We want to keep the students all the way to the end, to the 8th grade. That's one of the biggest things. Why? Because we at least know those kids will continue and happy and excited. They'll all have more. And guess what? We're parents and we'll have kids and stuff like that. So we'll continue to bring those kids to that school.
Great.
Hence,
Thank you.
okay.
Sorry to stop you. And then William.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What do you see as the
Okay.
core mission, and what should the board look at to know whether the school is fulfilling that mission for all students?
Well, to me, the core mission is to give quality education, and to summarize it, right? So, in other words, if a student's a D student, they get a C or B, that's quality education, right? Depending where they're coming from. Now, to the second question, I think you said, with the students fulfilling the mission. This is my personal opinion, right? Measurements. The board shouldn't measure just on test scores. And I know you guys probably don't, but a board shouldn't do that. It should be on some academic achievement, obviously, the growth of the school, and I think someone mentioned that already. Attendance, right? Because if you have someone in classroom A, a teacher that has 30 people in class, someone in classroom B that has 15 people in class, something's going on in the classroom. There's no magic going on. And family engagement, right? You got to have parents, right? If the parents are not involved and there's no engagement with parents all the time, something could be going on, right? We got to get more of that. In school culture, right? What's the culture of the school, right? And in every board decision, I think students need to be a part of that, the discussion, no matter what. It has to be a part of it. And we always have to use data, right? And I think 3 or 4 people mentioned that already in every decision. Now, sometimes data is wrong, right? But data has to be part of the decision all the time.
Great. Okay, and Atika, you can close us out on this question.
So I know there was a lot of ideas that are thrown, and they're all kind of communal. So I'll start with how would what should the board look at to know? So the surveys that are done by the parents, the surveys that are done by the administration, the staff, the teachers, and the survey that is done by the students, all of that together does give us an ideal of what kind of interaction, or what is the mission being accomplished. But the other way is through communication through with the parents, with the community, with conversations with the teachers, conversation. the conversation can be just kind of more of oversight, but it is, we do, the parents and the community does know how to kind of see, and then all of those information can be put together and see if whether the school is fulfilling the mission for us, for all the students. So I'll go back to the first part, like the core mission of the TCCS. The mission is to foster a nurturing environment where students can realize their full intellectual and potential and become self-directed learners. And it is how General inspired by TCCA dedication to helping students make both the pragmatics and creative use of their basics skills, as well as understanding and appreciate the cultural diversity. That is very important for the core mission to be accomplished and to be reached, as well as the collective efforts from the faculty, staff, the guardian, extended family, the community, as well as the children, and how to support the network in building the students' learning abilities. Sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next question. And Brittany, you're going to kick us off on this question. So all of you have actually started addressing this to some extent. So this question relates to how you've been involved in the TCCS community so far. So keep in mind that we've heard some of this, but really focus perhaps on how you, if elected, how you would translate that experience to board service. So how would you let your current involvement so far at TCCS translate and shape your service to the board? And so we'll start with Brittany.
Great. I did briefly mention this before, so thanks, Renee, but I do want to just delve a bit deeper into one of my sort of biggest steps into collaboration with the school community was raising some concerns I had around the K-2 curriculum, particularly around writing. And brought it up to the teacher, who then sort of we had some conversations, and I met with Miss Torres and Miss G. And through that conversation, really felt a sense of collaboration, was able to share best practices, articles, ideas, also met with Mr. Adam to talk about the math curriculum. And so I would love to transfer that experience into leaning more into the piece around joining the subcommittee for curriculum, thinking about the K-8 student experience, and how that is shaped not only by curriculum, but by things like the field trips they're taking, the books they're reading, the science projects they're doing. And so would love to be part of the subcommittees that are around curriculum, and around the student and parent experience. I also think the other part here that I've been involved in is through I have been volunteer at the book fair, a mystery reader, have been volunteered at various other Special Persons Day. I'm sort of blanking on all those activities, albeit field day this week. And I think all of those opportunities, I would like to bring that to the board to ensure that we are creating a space for all parents to feel seen and heard and involved. And if we don't see that level of involvement, I want to get at the root cause of why, and ensure that parents feel that sense of community that is core to the mission and in our name. So bringing my experience of the community aspect through the parent piece, and also bringing in the curriculum and experience.
Okay, thank you. Alexi.
As I stated, 4 years ago, we came to TNET Community Charter School not knowing anybody. But since that time, every field trip that we've been able to volunteer at, I've done it with my wife. Every field day, I've grilled. She's ran around, done a bunch of stuff. And there's plenty of other things that we've done that, maybe we weren't official volunteers, but we've done it because we love the school, we love the parents, we love the students. Another thing that would change everything is diversity. Like I said, I speak multiple languages. I've dealt with a lot of different types of people, from Ecuadorians to Salvadorians to Peruvians to Puerto Ricans to, to Ukrainians to Russians. And when you can learn that diversity is a good thing and you can learn to speak everybody's language, then you can make a change. We might not have some parents interacting or engagement, but it might be a cultural thing. And sometimes they don't know. To give you guys a life example, I can't tell you how many times I reached out to people who were in foreclosure and didn't know how to get out of it. And because somebody reached out, I was able to help them save their home. But if I didn't take the initiative to reach out and to see things from their perspective, nothing would have happened. They would have lost their home. They would have been, in trouble. And with this school, with Miss Torres, Mr. Gallo, all the teachers that we've encountered, it's all about communication. It's all about building this learning community and realizing that yes, the students are self-directed learners, but parents are also full partners. And you don't overstep. Again, the board is not there to manage day-to-day things. They're there for oversight, for governance, and for collaboration. So, if I get elected, I'll just keep doing what I've been doing, except I'll use my financial background, the fact that I can speak multiple languages, to help out.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Oscar. Oscar, can you hear us? Okay, perhaps we lost Oscar. We'll skip over to William and we'll come back to Oscar later.
The Oscar is off.
Okay.
Well, I'm in different communities. Right now, I'm trying to join this community. That's why I'm here, right? But I do believe that, overall, if elected, with my experience, I would probably help and try to support any type of academic excellence based on experience. I would probably help strengthen any long-term financial, stability that you guys have. I would like to promote any transparency of any accountability, support students. My specialty is definitely encourages partnerships and communities with families, educators, the community. That's what we do in my current job now. Anything that ensures decisions that's student centered, right? And I definitely would like to, join a team that's stronger, already is strong. Period. And that's it.
Great. Thank you. Atika.
I have been involved in multi events. I have been present in all the strategic initiative meetings, of the board meetings, volunteering, class parties, class events. I do see that it is very important to help the teachers, the staff, and to be part, to create the community, the sense of community for our children. Beyond the passion for the education, I bring a range of strengths that I believe are integral to the board position. I'm trustworthy, solution-minded, and goal-oriented. It is confident that I am a team player, that I sometimes I volunteer for just the book fair and I end up in the kitchen with the special student event. uh, just being involved in the kids and be the person who both the staff and the current board to work together collaboratively to reach all the goals of TCCS.
Great. Thank you. And Ravi, you get to wrap up this question.
Yeah, and I saw Oscar return back, so I don't know if I want to have him after. Um, So I've been, every time I have an opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, to volunteer to do something in the school, I do it. I love coming in, even if I have to take a day off from school, from work. I take the day off from work and come in because I love, coming in to volunteer for all the different events. And I've seen so many parents that are on this call right now be part of the events, right? And so it's like the being class parents, special persons day, book fair, field day, and a lot of various things like that are not documented, right? And I just because I love coming in, right? And the reason I like coming in is because I get to see how everything is operating. I see the kids, not only the kids grow, but also I can see how the teachers are interacting with the staff. I see how the board members are interacting with the school, and I want to be um, give my ideas on how to continue, the way things are going well. And I can give my experience that I have with project management as a working as an engineer. I have quite a bit of problem solving background in a lot of the work I do. And if I'm faced in a situation and while being on the board and we need to solve a difficult problem, I'm able to kind of break down a lot of the problems into more chewable type of bites, and try to look at it in more simplified concepts and then reroute all that information back to the bigger picture and helping solve the bigger problem. And then I have a lot of experience with working on budgets for a lot of my projects. And so I have experience doing the oversight on budgets, and understanding what's important and what's not in a lot of these budgets. And I have a lot of experience collaborating. Being an engineer, I have to collaborate with the marketing team. I have to collaborate with operations, purchasing, procurement, different stakeholders, regulatory, and I need to understand what's important for them. I need to look at every bit and piece of what's important for all of these stakeholders, and then put everything together and look at the big picture and see what's most important. And being part of the community and being involved in the community helps me put a lot of those pieces together. And I think that will be very beneficial if I'm part of the board.
Thank you. And
Yep.
Oscar, I heard you're back. So this question is really about your involvement with TCCS to date and how that engagement that you've had so far will shape your service on the board.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. My battery died and I had
It's
ran to
okay.
get the battery charged. Okay, so my involvement in the TCCS community has primarily been through the role as a parent. I've been very engaged in Kalia's education, participated in school activities, communicated with teachers and staff across the entire school, and obviously worked to support the community, the teachers, the staff, and specifically my daughter. But I've also worked along with other students. I do sometimes tend to come around in uniform, so they see, they want to interact, the kind of stuff like that. But through my experiences, I've learned that a successful school depends on a strong partnership between families, the educators, administrators, and the community. I firsthand how communicated and trust the collaboration can possibly impact the students and educational experience. So, I am a recruiter for the National Guard. I tend to sway away a little bit from the recruiter and would consider myself more of a career counselor. With that experience, I've been able to work with diverse families, community organizations, local leaders, mayors specifically. And with that being said, my career has taught me importance of leadership, listening, especially to teachers, guidance counselors, concerns. Let's make decisions, allowing to help the students, right? So that kind of transitions me a little bit into what if I were to be elected, right? So I would use these lessons, everything that I've learned over the years of career counselor, collaborate with the board members.
15 seconds, Oscar.
All right. So again, I believe effective leadership starts with understanding the people you serve, and I'm committed to representing the interests of all students and families. Leave it there.
Great, thank you. So to everyone who's observing, we have a few more questions, but we'd like to find out if you have any burning questions for the candidates, please put them in the chat and we'll try to fit at least one of them in. So put them in the chat and we'll take a look at them. Now, in the meantime, our next question is about collaboration. I think all 6 of you have mentioned collaboration at least once or twice. So we want to hear about a time that you worked with people with different views and what skills you used to bring people together in a collaborative manner and what the end result was. So try to fit that into 2 minutes, and we're going to start with Alexi this time.
Throughout my life, a lot of the things that I do is about bringing people together, whether it's my nonprofit work, traveling the world, bringing politicians, organizations together to build an orphanage or, start let's say a K-5 school in like Colombia, or whether it's, renovating houses, starting from foundation all the way through a finished home that a buyer has to buy at the end. I manage the whole project. So that means I have to manage the framer, the sheetrock guy, the electrician, the plumber, the city inspections, the bank financing the loan. And then when it's all said and done, I have to work with the new bank, the buyer, the real estate agent, the attorney. So most of my life has been, working with people who have not only different views, but more importantly, they come from different cultures. So the first thing you do when you're working together with different folks who have different views is you need to look at things from their perspective. You need to stay quiet long enough to understand how a person sees something. Because the way I see it or the way you see it might not even be relevant to how they see something. And if they don't understand what's going on, or if we're having miscommunication, nobody's going to work together. But if you can see something from someone else's perspective, you can put yourself in their shoes, then you can say, hey, here's what we're really here to solve. And if the problem's too big, you break it down to a few smaller problems. You give people different roles. Instead of, hey, everybody's working on this one big problem, there's 5 steps. You do this, you do this, you do this, I do this. And together we solve something. We make it happen. Working with the board of people like Joe Avino, with the teachers, we've done it at TNEC. And it's the most amazing thing because it's not about my agenda, my student, the way I want. No, it's how are we going to make the day better for all the kids? How are we going to make this trip better for all the kids when it's pouring rain outside and you're trying to get to Ellis Island and half of the parents are on the one ferry and all the kids are stuck on another ferry? Can you slow down and can you work together? And we just had it happen recently, a few months ago. And guess what? We calmed down, we worked together, everybody had a blast, and it was a successful day.
Great, thank you. And Oscar, we're back to you.
Okay. Tell us about a time you work with people got different views. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a career recruiter for the National Guard. So I have parents who have a different kind of view to the kids. And the intent is towards the end to all have the same idea, right? We often move forward from hesitation, disagreements, shared understandings, and different opinions. But ultimately, what I look for is what is truly going to benefit the student or the child in this case. Okay. What skill do you use to bring the folks together in collaboration manner, and what was the result? Okay. So I usually use my perspective. I usually use my ideas, my examples, my experiences. And this allows the collaboration between the parent, the board, the educator, and the administrator, allowing one successful result which at the end of the day, it's for the TCCS students. That allowing me for everyone to be in a full agreement, building trust. We have a common ground, we have full guidance, and we make one informative decision, which ultimately would be the effect of the kids at the end. And that's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, William, tell us about a time when you worked with people with different views and the skills that you used to bring them together.
All right. All right. First, Oscar, thanks for serving our country because I know you said you're National Guard. All right. I thought you was a cop at first, but you are a National Guard. So thanks for serving our country. All right. So I work for-profit education, and I'll make this fast. So what happens is students come in, enroll, and want to start school, right? So there's problems with students canceling, right? When admissions comes in, students come in, enroll, and don't go to school, right? If that happens, there's an issue somewhere within the process. It could be admissions interview, it could be financial aid, said something, didn't do the loan correctly, right? They never got to start school. So what happens is I had to come in and create something called a show meeting, right? Where you get academics, you get financial aid, you get admission to sit down once a week, right? Or twice a week and say, okay, what's the issue with all these students that you enroll, right? So they sit down and go with financial aid packaging, right? The admission talks about the student, financial aid talks about the packaging, and academic listens because they're going to get the student to start school, right? They didn't want to do that at first because everybody wants to be accountable for their thing. But if everyone's accountable for the one student to start school, right, then everybody's on the same page, right? So I created something called a show meeting. So that happened, obviously, and it went from like a 40% show rate to maybe a 60% show rate. So now that's the number, 60% in the company, right? So I would say I'm using my metrics, my data, my KPIs, and leadership. You get everybody together and be accountable for one person from start to graduate. And that's what I did.
Thank you. Atika.
So I used to be a program officer for the United Nations for the State Department, and basically the DMV for the diplomats of the United States. And one of the difficult situation happened is that a diplomat wanted a title. It was Christmas Eve, and he wanted a title and his plates for the car without providing the correct documents or the complete document. The way we accomplished for to do it is we called the dealer. We tried to call also the other United Nations office for the car to be, and we worked together as one team, and that's what I would bring to the table of being collaborative. That we all don't agree to get how we get things done. That maybe one person's view, whether it's the administration or the teacher or the current board, we might have a different views. But if we work collaboratively together and listen to each other's thoughts, there might be a way to meet in the middle and to be able to solve an issue as for to read with for our kids or for the school for it to go, because not all views are going to be all the same. We are humans, we all have different perspective, but communication and listening to each other will bring us to the middle ground, to a middle ground to reach those goals. So being listening to each other for sure.
Great. Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah, in my professional world, I deal with difficult situations all the time. I deal with people that have different views all the time. And the way I approach this is, I always go into these situations in a calm manner. I like to go in and be professional. And I always go in listening first. I think it's very important whenever being in a situation when people have different views, It's very important to go in and listen to what their differing view is. And you want to recognize that the fact that, if somebody has the different views, emotions might be really high, right? And so it's really important to keep the calmness whenever you're in that type of situation. Once listening to what the views are, once listening to the other side of what the situation is, then you start focusing on the facts. You start focusing on the data and focusing on the full picture. You have a fruitful conversation about what the differing ideas are and start evaluating and come up with ideas on how to come up with the solution. And part of that collaboration is what I usually do is I back it up with a lot of data and facts. And so we talk to each other, we understand what's important, what the data is, and what, what's important and what's not as important, right? There's a lot of times that I work with teams with upper management where they have the bottom line is money, right? And they want to save as much money as possible. A lot of the work that I do is sustainability and packaging engineering. And a lot of times when you come up with new ideas, sustainable ideas, a lot of times are new ideas, it's going to cost more money. And the way I convince a lot of my upper management teams is I show them the facts, I show them the data on why it's important, and come up with ideas on how they can utilize the higher cost and bring value to their product or bring value to their design. And by doing that, I come up with ideas where they can make claims on their package or claims on their product. And I know, Renee, I'm out of time, but I just want to say I can use those type of skills where I can go into these type of difficult situations while being part of the board and utilize a lot of the skills that I've gained in my professional world and um, based a lot of the collaboration on facts and data and to kind of neutralize some of the conflicts or difficult situations.
Thank you, Ravi.
Yep.
Brittany.
You're on mute.
Who still does that? It's not even COVID anymore. And I work remotely most of the time. I just want to talk about a specific time where that sort of stands out when I've had to work with people who had different views. This is a very common occurrence for me in my day to day, as I am often working with various stakeholders in schools to get to a student goal or outcome. But the one time I want to talk about was when I became a principal of a sort of turnaround school. I was coming in after the school had been around for quite a few years. Teacher retention was low, student retention low, and student data was very low. So I was coming into a situation where there were different points of view, not only about the teacher experience, the student experience, and there were a couple of key principles that I came back to. I think the first, which is what I would use in cases on the board as well, is grounding all of our conversations, decision making in the mission, in kids first. It's not really about us as the adults, it's about the kids. And so coming back to that mission, how are we making sure that's clear? And then ensuring that we are, and everyone had said that they're making the space to listen, but ensuring that in those conversations you're listening to understand, you're assuming the best, and you're creating a safe space for the views to be heard and valued. I think making people feel seen and heard and valued is sort of like my personal superpower, and something I think I attribute to being a middle child. But do think it's important that there is space for these views to be valued, differing views, but also to be talked through, and that we may not land in the same place. So when I had teachers that had different views than my own or than other teachers, we created roundtables where the views were brought forward, and we had that space to talk through things. And I think the other point here that I would add, and thinking about what other skills I used is making sure that I also am doing the work alongside of the teachers in this instance. So part of the differing views was a misunderstanding. And so how do you get to a common ground by doing some of that work together? And the end results was turning around a school that ended up being in the top 1% of New York State in math and ELA assessments, had the highest student and teacher retention in my network of charter schools that I worked in. So a lot of that comes back to grounding in the mission, ensuring that you're listening to understand and assuming the best, creating those safe spaces, and coming back to doing the work together and finding common ground. Oh, I passed it to you, Renee. You're on mute now.
Okay, Oscar, we're going to pass this. We're going to start you off with this next question. And I'm going to actually combine a question that we had with a question from the audience. So, as most of the candidates know, the board's role is different from the role of the day-to-day management. And the question raised by the audience member is about teacher burnout and retention. So, using teacher burnout and retention as an example, what do you see as the board's role in supporting a school environment where educators can feel supported and able to stay? So what do you see as the board's role in helping to counteract that feeling to the extent that that exists?
When you refer to the retention, we refer to the educators, or we're referring to the
Yes, this is
students?
about teacher retention. There's an audience member, and we're using that as an example of where you see the line between the board and day-to-day management because it was raised by an audience member as something that exists.
Okay, so as far as the burnout for the for the educators, like I said in the past, or I'm sorry, in the last, I think it was like the first question, I believe, the concerning part of the retention, not just for the students, but for the educators, would be a little more interaction with the community, where maybe, so I'm going to use myself as an example. Sometimes educators, they need a day off where they can just be in their classroom and referencing, let's say, I just need to maybe grade some papers. Okay, well, right now the community is engaged with where we do our special day. We have reading books or we have events going on in classrooms. Well, maybe how about one day we can go have a discussion on maybe mathematics, right? We can just read me off maybe your day to day for just for that one day. Maybe on Monday we have math all day or we have reading all day, right? I'm one where if I go to a high school, I'll speak to a English teacher and I say, what's your curriculum for today? Give it to me and I'm going to discuss it. I'm going to have a little interaction between what the history of National Guard is to some English. And that it also allows the teacher now saying, you know what, I have a day, I have 8 hours, 9 hours of not having to worry about my day to day on a periods of classroom coming in or students coming in. That is one of the things where I believe as the board communicating between the community, hence parents, with the educators, that can reduce the burnout of an educator, allowing the retention, saying, wow, if I can have this maybe once or twice in a month, it would be good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, William. So the question is, with knowing that the board doesn't manage the day-to-day work of the school, um, and thinking about teacher retention, what do you think is the board's appropriate role in helping ensure educators feel supported?
That's kind of tough because, the board, the administration is how, and the board is what and why, right? Those are two separate. But I think obviously the administrator does the day-to-day operations, right? But the only thing I think we can do, the board, whoever's on the board, can have a open and honest conversation with community, obviously, right? They can come and we can be open and honest. We can listen to parents, staff, and community members. If that's not happening already, that can happen now to support, right? and they can see what we can do to focus on the student success, teachers, instructors, student goals, and we can go together. We can review together questions and review data together. Those are the things that I think we can do to support the administration without any micromanaging, right? Because we have to work through the administration to go and work through the teachers, right? There's a buffer, right? We can't work with them directly. That just can't happen, right? And we have to respect the roles, but while we work through the common mission, period, right? So that's the only way I think that can happen, right? As we are the board. And that's my take on it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Atika, so knowing that the board doesn't manage day-to-day work of the school, but it does help set priorities and provide oversight, what do you think is the board's appropriate role in helping educators feel supported?
To work with them together. I know that, so I come from, my mom is a teacher, was a teacher. So I do remember how much she was burned out. So working together with the teachers, I know that the board cannot take sides, but it is a the board job as well to listen to the teachers and see how we can help them and work with them and pull the community or the parents to have a great communication together between the parents and the educators to help the educators make their reach their goals and reach the mission goal. So working together is a very key.
Great. Thank you. Ravi?
Yeah, this situation, I've actually experienced something very similar. Just recently, a client that I'm supporting right now, they had, I should say now, a pretty bad retention rate. And the company just didn't know why, right? And they did the traditional surveys, but like somebody had mentioned in the chat over here, the surveys that they sent out to the employees, they didn't have a good response rate. So it wasn't so many people responding. And they really wanted to get to the root cause of why there was a bad retention rate. And so what they did was not only have the survey results, that was data in itself, but even though it was limited, they actually reached out in different formats with team building events, or reached out in different formats just in simple one-on-ones with different employees to understand what's working well and what's not working well. They utilize that data, they sanitize the data to take out any confidential information. So they don't know, okay, Ravi said this or Renee said this, but they knew that there were certain thoughts going on in some of the employees' heads, right? And then they made a plan and they made adjustments on the way that we're operating today. We have, different flexible hours to alleviate some things that are occurring. And employees were feeling burnt out because they didn't have the proper hours. They had different programs put in place to help them alleviate some of the stress or release some of the overload they're having in the work. I would envision something similar would occur, and I know it's already occurring at the charter school in terms of understanding how the staff is feeling, or understanding how the students are feeling. We have, we have the surveys, we have the interactions the day-to-day interactions that Mr. Gallo and Ms. Torres has. And they route the information to the board. I see it in every time I go to the board meetings. Every month I see, a lot of this detail is routed back to the board, and the board does work together and try to come up with solutions. And I think we need to really take into consideration these comments that do come in as facts and data to help create a great environment, a better environment than it already is for all, not only the teachers, but the students and the parents and the community.
Thank you. Okay, Brittany, do I need to restate the question?
I got it. I
Okay.
think one thing I want to come back to is something I had said earlier. I see our role on the board as removing barriers and building those bridges. And I think it's directly related to how I would think about teacher burnout. Um, Teacher burnout is a national problem and it's a local problem. And so thinking about at a local level, what can we do as the board to remove those barriers? Often with teachers, it's making the day-to-day feel manageable. Right now in education, everything is a priority. And when everything is a priority, nothing becomes a priority, and all of that falls on the backs of teachers. And so, really working with the administration to figure out what are those areas where we need to add or subtract or change so that teachers can focus on the main priority of the administration, right? Teachers' job now includes you become a counselor. We have the most amazing nurse, but sometimes you have the band-aid, right? You are also working on getting students into what is the high school that they're going to go into, thinking long term, right? You're managing parent communication across email, class dojo, across all of these iReady apps that they now have to use, right? There's a lot of pieces that go into the day-to-day of teachers. And so our job is to streamline that as the board and support the administration in making the priorities feel clear so teachers can achieve them. I truly believe that burnout comes when you don't feel successful and you don't feel supported. And so it's our job to add those two pieces back into the equation, and to support the areas where we can to bring a space where teachers want to come back, they feel excited. And clearly, TCCS has done that as teachers have many years under their belt. But making sure that as the layers get added on in the education world, that we are clear about what are the priorities we believe at TCCS to be important, and how do we make sure that teachers can achieve those goals and those priorities.
Thank you. Okay, Alexi, you can finish us off with this question.
Beautiful. You know, um, I'm glad that somebody brought this up because it's important. This is a partnership between parents, teachers, and students. When you have depleted teachers and you have checked out parents, everyone loses. But, taking a look at the board's responsibility, the truth is the board doesn't run the day-to-day support for teachers, workload, schedule, budget, building culture. That is the executive director's job and administration's. However, with that being said, we have some real levers that we as the board do control. We can measure what's going on, you know, look at, teacher retention, staff climate, and we can implement that into the goals that, the administration is accountable to. Even now they are. If you look at what our executive director and the administration is doing, these things are on their radar, which is great. But we can put some, real analytics and numbers and thoughts behind it, because respect shows up in the budget. You can plan time for professional development, wellness resources, enough staffing so one person isn't doing three jobs. And sometimes that's even telling a teacher, hey, you're doing too much, because people get excited. These teachers, they love our students. But if you do too much, you are bound to burn out. And the other way of looking at it is, we do have teachers that have been here a long time. So they have found a roadmap to success. So can we learn from somebody like Miss Linda, who's been here for a while, and say, hey, what do you do to keep the energy up? What do you enjoy about the school? Do you see any problems? And something we implement at my company is we do one-on-ones with our team members on a monthly basis. We sit down people and we let them speak freely. What do you love? What do you not like? What do you hate? How can we change it? And give them a safe environment to speak their truth, take all of that in, and then look at the budget, look at what's going on with the school, and say, hey, how can we help this? Teacher retention is important because 90 cents on the dollar for every student, when you have a high turnover rate, that gets expensive. But if you can hear the teachers, and then if parents can get involved to volunteer, to help, to give their time as well, it's going to alleviate the teachers. And then that's when the community, the culture, everything builds. We can't just say, hey, it's all the teacher's responsibility because it's their job. Because if that's the mindset we have, then maybe we shouldn't be at the school.
So thank you, Alexi. We've come to the time where it's about time to wrap up. So we're going to, Mr. Gallup, if you want to just remove the slide so we can see all the candidates. We're going to do one final speed round, where you get to answer, you get to wrap up and say why people should support your candidacy in a minute. As you do that, also consider including one of your favorite things about TCCS and one thing that you think could be tweaked or improved. Okay, and we're back to starting with William.
Okay. You should vote for me because I have 20 years experience in for-profit education, which is education. Before this, I was in education because I was a student in education. So I was a student and I actually became an educator and then became an executive with education. And I've been doing this for a very long time, and everything's been for the student. Even when I was a student, I was for the student. And it's been fun, right? And now I'm in TNEC, and I love TNEC Charter School because it did well for my children, right? And it's still doing well. And it's prepared my child, one of my children, for Bergen Academy's uh, charter. I mean, Bergen Academies. So what happened was she went to Teterboro. Now, it prepared her solidly for that school, right? Small school. Now, I do believe that over the next couple of years, to improve on top of the greatness of Teaneck Charter School, I think more high school programs, more high schools coming in, or us going out to different high schools would be better. Shadowing, right? From sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade, and not just to Teaneck High School, to different high schools. I think that'll be great over the next couple of years. I saw the fingers. You got it.
Yeah, yeah. Atika, speed round.
So I would like your vote because I do bring diversity, communication, and goal oriented. I am I take ownership of my actions or of my words. So if I do commit a to a skill, or if I do commit to anything, I will make sure that it does get done and completed. TNEC Charter School has brought not only for my children, but I see it in other children's lives that it did make it easy in a lot of circumstances. There are times when things are not aligning for others, uh, but it is a very nurturing school, diverse, open-minded. They work together from the staff, the teachers. They do take ownership as well, which I really in like that they work together with the parents, with the children, and the educators. The one thing that if I was to add, it will be the programs for the high school program. Just more of a not only shadowing, but more of trying to prepare the kids in a different way or different matter for them to be ready for high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Ravi.
Yeah, I want to start off by just saying that this was an amazing experience. I'm glad that, I had a chance to participate in this forum and hear about all of these great ideas from these great candidates. Everybody here in this room is just amazing. So I'm really happy that we have a great pool of candidates for the board. I do want to say that, I mentioned it over and over again. I love coming into the school. I love volunteering. I love supporting the school. I've attended almost all of the board meetings in the past couple of years, and I've got a chance to learn about how the board operates. I've seen how there's multiple committees and how they operate in their own capacity, and then they funnel all that information into the board and then make the final decision based off of the details that they receive from the committees. Um, my background, I have my bachelor's and I have two masters, so I'm a kind of a student at heart as well. I'm always eager to learn. You tell me to go back to school, I'll go back to school. But somebody has to pay my bills, right? But like um, I feel like I can bring a lot of new perspective from an engineering background. I've have quite a bit of experience working with multiple stakeholders or cross-functional teams, and I feel like I'm going to be able to bring a lot of that experience into the board and help help grow. And one thing that the charter school does well, it's a community school. The community works well together. I see a lot of volunteers come in, and I like to come in with new ideas and bringing in more volunteers in a different capacity, not just having them come in to do support events, but also come in and share their expertise from their particular careers. So.
Thank you. And Brittany.
All right, found the mute button. So a couple of things I just want to come back to. I think you mentioned something we love and something we want to tweak about TCCS. It is a parent's dream to have a child that wakes up and wants to go to school. In fact, I think the wake up time this morning was way too early. But her love of learning and love of school is I accredit to the adults in the building. She feels loved and seen and supported. You know, she still considers all of her teachers from last year teacher appreciation. It was, I need a gift from Miss Margie, and what are we going to do for Miss Bell? And the adults have become a part of her life in a way that I know has built her confidence, has made her feel loved. And I think that is just a parent's dream. The second part of this, in terms of what I would tweak, is also aligned to why I think I'm a good candidate for the board. And that would be I have a national education perspective. I'll be in Detroit next week training teachers. I was in Brooklyn today training DOE teachers on scaffolding and what that means for lesson planning. And I have a depth of knowledge that spans K-8 in an area that I think we could really bring those best practices to the teachers, to the administration. And I really want to start now with my students being in second grade and coming into kindergarten. I believe that longevity and that building something collaboratively is something that really inspires me. So I'm excited and for the opportunity, and thank you all for being here. I think there's an exciting game on that may be starting in just a minute, maybe more exciting than me. So I'll pass it back to you, Renee.
Yeah, for fairness sake, we have to get to Alexi and Oscar before the, what is it called? Tip off? I don't know what it's even called. Okay. Alexi.
First of all, I want to thank everybody here. This has been a pleasure. You know, I love Tina Community Charter School. I love everybody here. You know, honestly, if I look at it, I'm not here chasing your vote or saying, hey, vote for me because I do X, Y, and Z. The truth is, do I have a lot of experience? Yes. You know, did I come here with my parents not speaking English and helped raise two brothers, two sisters through a school district? Yeah. Do I have international educational experience? 100%. But I want you to take a look and say, hey, who's going to do the best, not just for my student, but for the Teaneck Community Charter School community? Because I've seen plenty of students leave the school and do great. And the only thing I can promise you is, you know, if you do want to vote for me, I'll make sure that we're going to look out for every single student. And not only that, I'm going to focus on getting more parents engaged because there is a core group of parents that are engaged, but there's so many that aren't. And they have a bunch of reasons why. And if we can figure that out, we can bring parental engagement with teacher collaboration. It'll change everything. It'll decrease burnout. It'll decrease the turnover rate, and it'll change the future for every single student.
Thank you. And Oscar.
Okay.
This one.
I promise everyone I'll be fast. I know everybody wants to watch the game. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone, Mr. Gallo, the board, for giving me the opportunity to come as a candidate. I think everyone on here as candidates is an A1 grade, 100%. But I do look forward to a potential opportunity as a board of trustee. I do bring a lot of leadership experience, strong commitment to the education, and as a personal investment, the success of school as a parent is one of my biggest keys. As you all know, I mean, I worked on a day-to-day basis with families, diverse backgrounds, and often helping them navigate through complex decisions about education, career, long-term goals, experiences that strengthen their abilities, communicate clearly, bring people together when we all have shared goals. And when I say people. I'm talking about the students in the classroom that come with their goals, the educators that can see my point of view, communities that see my point of view, how I'm trying to help the community, especially our kids. Our kids are our future. They are going to be our replacements, if not with other things in mind, right? And as a parent, I understand firsthand the families, what the families expect, strong academics, a safe, a supportive environment, clear communication that we should have with our educators and our families. So if elected, I will bring a disciplined, transparent collaboration between community, educators, the board, parents, and all I ask is for community service, right? Strong, supportive academic outcome for our kids. That's why we're here. Ensure responsibility, and that's it.
Thank you, everyone. This is such an incredible group of candidates. I think we can't go wrong with any of the people here. Um, Thank you all for participating and for your willingness to serve and desire to serve TCCS. And thank you for everyone who was able to stay on the call. And thank you for the people who listen after the live event. We hope that this forum really helps you to get a sense of every candidate's position and who they are and how they might contribute. I encourage you to go back and read the candidate statements that you can find on the website. So everyone, you had some great answers and gave us a lot of food for thought. As the note says, voting is Monday, June 15th. 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. The links will be sent out to the email addresses on file with the school. If you haven't been getting emails all year, now is the time to check for them. And then the results will be announced at the June 15th Board of Trustees meeting, which I encourage everyone to go to. So thank you all for the opportunity to moderate. It was great to meet all of you as well, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
was excellent job moderating. We really appreciate it. You kept things right on target. Everybody can now enjoy the game. Thank you very much to our candidates. Everybody did a great job, and we're really looking forward to the election next Monday.
Yes, and Mr. Gallo, I wanted to say we are here amongst eighth grade parents. You all did a phenomenal job. We are so excited about the diversity and what you all bring to the candidacy. So we wish you all the best. And just know your work doesn't end. I will be done June 15th, but we are continuing as a group of an eighth grade committee. So your work never ends at Charter. So make sure to vote, make sure to listen to this broadcast, share it out, and we wish you all the best. And we're excited to see the new board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But
All right,
eighth grade parents.
Thank you,
Thanks a
Renee.
lot, everybody.
Thank
All
you.
right, everyone have a good night.
You too. Go
Go
Knicks.
Knicks.
Yeah.
Go Knicks. Go Knicks.